Question for all of you. I've worked for the Home Office and I've witnessed asylum seekers being sent in a taxi from Edinburgh to Liverpool, and taxi drivers were paid hundreds of pounds to carry them to a 3-star hotel. Is this where our hard-earned money is spent wisely by the UK government?
Thank you very much. £2 billion spent last year on housing asylum seekers in this country. Brian Whittle, these were numbers and problems that piled up during the last Conservative government.
I think they've continued to pile and continued to pile. And quite frankly, I think the way we deal with immigration now nobody's done it well, quite frankly, is the truth. The fact is that we're now at, what, 50,000 people coming across the channel? You know, every government says, we're going to tackle this issue, and they never do. And they haven't done it properly to date. We now have this issue of 300 or 400 illegal immigrants, and they are illegal because they came across the channel. You're only an asylum seeker if you come from the country you're seeking asylum from. You're illegal if you leave a country of safety. It's true, because you have to come through to be a legal migrant. You have to come through proper channels, and proper channels are not leaving France to come to Britain. And we see the issue of in Inverness are going to take 300 to 400 are being imposed on Inverness.
Cameron Barracks.
Now, the bottom line is they have human rights and they have the right to be housed. But that was done without any consultation with the local communities. It was done without any investment following that to help to deliver better services because of that influx of people.
Well, it's been done to take people out of hotels, which is where the Conservative government sent them.
But all we're doing is moving them from one place to another place. It's not solving the issue, and that for me is where why that is wrong. No consultation, no investment. It's going to put a strain. I mean, no wonder people are worried about it, because you can't get a doctor's appointment, schools are overburdened, and here, by the way, here's another thing.
All right, Callum Steele, Highlands and Islands, that's your neck of the woods. How do you feel about this?
Not only is it my neck of the woods, I used to live a couple of hundred yards away from Cameron Barracks when I lived in Inverness. I mean, to some extent, and I don't want to get personal, but Brian's language there was really pejorative. You know, the reality is that the UK is an island. By Brian's definition, with the exception of Hong Kong and Ukraine, which are the only two countries that you're able to seek asylum from according to the former government's approach, everybody's an illegal entrant into the United Kingdom. But there is absolutely no requirement that you cannot claim asylum from a safe country. It is preposterous that is the case, and it defies all international conventions to suggest so. But there are unavoidable issues with regard to asylum seekers coming to the country, and particularly when there is the imposition of potentially 300 to 400 in a community like Inverness. You have to understand what the cause of those problems are. The reason that we had so many of those seeking asylum in hotels was because of decisions that were taken by the Home Office to outsource the housing of those seeking asylum to private industry, Serco and the Mears Group, who ripped profit from the taxpayer to put people in substandard accommodation with damp and mould and all the rest of it. And as a consequence of the backlash to housing, warehousing effectively, what are often young men, fit, active men, but not economically active because they don't allow them to work. The inevitability is that these people have nothing to do. They hang around. They, by their very presence, they create a source of intimidation and unease in communities. All of these things are easily fixed. Our economy is tanking across the place. Whilst the slow balling of the processing of asylum applications has started to be turned around, allow those that are coming into the country to work in the short term to at least contribute to make sure that they're economically active, to avoid the fact that they have nothing to do except loiter and create that source of intimidation.
Okay, the reason that we're talking about this again tonight on debate night is it's the subject that we got most questions on, and from either side of this argument as well. So let's hear from somebody. Chris, you asked the question. What do you think of what you've heard so far?
I always think, why Britain? What do they want from Britain? Why not any other parts of the world?
Can I highlight that? Following the collapse of Syria and Libya, Germany took in 2 million people. 2 million.
And look at the state it's happened in Germany.
So it's not just Britain.
In terms proportionately, I'll come to you in a second. I want to hear some more people in the audience. Man with the neckerchief. Yes, on you go.
I think it's immoral that we continue to refer to these people as asylum seekers. They're refugees.
Thank you. Man with the glasses, second from the back. Yep. On you go.
If we were talking about asylum seekers getting Cameron Barracks, why wasn't our veterans given the opportunity to go to Cameron Barracks? That's a simple question for you guys sitting on the panel.
Okay,
our veterans have possibly paid. I was a 37-year veteran myself. At one time or another, I was prepared to make my wife a widow, serving in Northern Ireland, and a lot of these other guys are sleeping in the streets. It doesn't sit well with me. Going to Cameron Barracks, I've been to Cameron Barracks numerous times. That would have been ideal for our veterans. But however, you guys think more about the other people, the immigrants coming into the country, than people who have served their country with distinction.
Polly McNeill.
So, there aren't many safe routes for people who are escaping countries where they may face persecution. And even some of those countries where we've had involved in conflict, whether it's Syria or Afghanistan, we have not provided safe routes for those. And I think we owe some of those people an obligation to give them an opportunity to live here. And there is an important thing about, when you're an asylum seeker, you've risked your life to come here. You then require status as a refugee, so there's a legal distinction there. Callum Steele said that Mears and other companies are massively profiteering from housing asylum seekers, and they are mostly asylum seekers, in hotels. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. So the Labour government, in trying to reach solutions to this, whether that's the right place, I don't know, because I don't know enough about that part of the world and how it's impacting the local community. But that we need to find solutions. We can't just magic the numbers away.
Well, these companies aren't here to speak for themselves, but I mean, they were handed the problem by the UK government to deal with these people. So is Cameron Barracks in Inverness, is that the right solution?
Well, we've got to find various different solutions. But what I don't think we can allow is this debate to descend into a divisive debate, which it has done. We need to actually find solutions and back the government to actually do something about this. 35,000 people have actually been sent back, but we need cooperation with other countries. We cannot do this on our own. The refugee issue is a global issue. It's where people have had climate change disasters, where they're fleeing from economic disaster. So we can't do it in isolation. That's one of the tragedies of Britain leaving Europe, to be honest, is we don't have a level of cooperation that we did with France and other countries. So it's not the easiest question for politicians, but it's one that's obviously exercised in the public. And I think we should have a sensible and calm debate about it. Scotland does need some immigration to fill the skills that we don't currently have. So I think we need to have a tempered and rational debate about it.
So many hands up in the audience for this. Lady in the second row first.
I will go back to what you said about letting the asylum seekers work. What work? There's no even work for young people at the moment. So how's there going to be work for asylum seekers as well?
Okay, lady in the green top in the front row.
Well, you keep hearing that when these asylum seekers come to this country, they're actually given mobile phones, and they're actually given money, and they're actually fed, and some of them living in luxury hotels, when we have people who are struggling to exist with families on very minor earnings and facilities, whatever, that are living in impoverished situations that don't get that help. And this is where I feel that the Labour government has let everybody down with a thump.
So you just think it doesn't seem fair, what's happening at the moment?
No, it's not fair. I really do not blame people wanting to escape from the trauma of their own countries. It's understandable. That's happened in my own generation and the generations before. But what I do object to is the fact that for some reason, the government seem to think it'll be glorifying to them to make it look as if the Conservatives or the Labour government or the Lib Dems or the Scott Nats, if they ever get in, if they look good, that's what they want to do. They're not thinking of the ordinary man in the street.
Thank you. Man with the glasses in the third row.
Callum Steele, you started the rights debate talking about how it's the government's main priority is to protect its citizens.
There you go.
And you've now just said there that the priority for the Inverness barracks should be the illegal immigrants. I've got a solution for that protects both, because the local people of Inverness would be quite rightly worried about that happening. Put a 12-foot fence around the barracks and keep the people and allow them to loiter within the barracks themselves.
Seamus.
Look, I want to come back to the original question, which was about, is this the right way to do things? Hotels are absolutely not the right way to do things. But it is not luxury, madam. I have to object to that. Living in one of these hotels is by no means luxury. Asylum seekers, and by the way, they are not illegal. There's no such thing as an illegal person. These are asylum seekers. It's uncomfortable fact, but here are some facts we need to consider. In 2020, there were 290 people who came across the channel in small boats. This year so far, 29,000. Why is that? And here's the answer. In 2020, we left the Dublin Convention. Why? Because of Brexit, the elephant in the corner. And relating this back to what was discussed earlier about economic growth and so forth, if the Chancellor wants to deal with economic growth, let her deal with Brexit. In relation to asylum seekers...
6,107 asylum seekers in Scotland. Where should they be housed?
Well, in my personal view, not in barracks. It's not the place for them. And putting a fence around it, what are we talking about? A concentration camp? Is absolutely ridiculous.
Gentleman with the black top right on the end, yes.
I think the idea would be to create a disincentive to try and stop these people trying to get to Britain in the first place. And through that, I think it's time the politicians take a real hard look at trying to tweak the European Convention on Human Rights. When the Prime Minister of Poland is turning around, he was the former president of the EU at the time, or the European Council, sorry. When he's turning around and saying that we ought to be having a look at the European Convention on Human Rights and perhaps tweaking it, I think that's what the UK Parliament and the Scottish Parliament should be considering as well, as opposed to keeping this open door policy and where are we going to shove them into the community or otherwise.
Thank you. David Martindale.
God, this is a wee bit outside my comfort zone. For me, I think you do need immigration, but it's probably the illegal side of it. You're saying there's no illegal, but people coming over in boats is obviously not the correct procedure to follow, surely.
So these people have no option because this country currently has no safe and legal routes for these folks.
Well, France. Coming from France. France is not safe for them. Is that what you're saying?
This is the point about... I think this is the difficulty with this whole debate. Eventually it starts ascending into division and argument, and really and truthfully, that's not the way we want to go. We want to reach solutions which are non-political.
You didn't give us a solution to where these people... You said they shouldn't be in the barracks, they shouldn't be in hotels. So where should they be?
Well, this is an issue for both governments, Westminster and Holyrood, to
find... So let's find a solution.
Well, you say 6,000. We've got to look at that carefully and see how we can deal with that.
Did you say 29,000 come in this year?
So far, on boats, yes.
On boats? It's hard. Is there not got to be more regulation around that? Is it not got to be harder to come into the country by illegal methods? I think we do need immigration. I agree with that.
Asylum seekers should be processed outside this country and allowed to seek asylum. That's really, and the gentleman mentions the European Convention on Human Rights. We need to remember that those rights came about at the end of the Second World War. And this country was one of the main founders, Churchill himself, one of the main founders of those rights. rights which you and I take for granted every day almost. We tinker at those at our own peril. That's the way I feel.